Hello, YouTubers. Joe Kersey here on Sunday, November 25th, 2018 at 1200 in the middle of the day here. It's neither AM nor PM. Although I guess actually if you use 24-hour clock time, you don't need to specify, do you? So it's 1200. I read at the 8 o'clock service this morning. It was sort of like, the Old Testament was the oracle of David. David is not traditionally thought of as a prophet. Well, he wasn't. But at least 2 Samuel in this, I always call it pericope, but I guess it's more properly pronounced pericope. Included this, and effectively he's functionally a prophet in this. Okay. And then we actually had a fairly long excerpt. Maybe it wasn't an excerpt. It was the whole damn thing. Let's find out. From, where's my book of common? Where's my real book of common? The 1662 Book of Common Fare. We we did the old responsively by whole verse technique, which is kind of the default technique in our church. Yeah, we read the whole thing, 19 verses, although there's various verse numberings of this thing. And we had enough people at the 8 o'clock service that it wasn't like, I read it out my verse. And then they sort of like, no, so we had a fairly good, and it was kind of like a timely thing. They kept up the flow of it. There weren't these, maybe I'm getting them trained. I've been there 3 weeks in a row now. I think I'm going to read First Sunday of Advent next week too. In year C, the new church year starts. Well, actually, the new church year starts November 30th on St. Andrew's Day. So get ready to put on your armor of light, dudes. Because here it comes, Advent. So it went pretty well. I mean, I still can't get over this, our new rector's voice. I mean, he sounds like a radio announcer. I mean, you close your eyes and you listen to the guy. You think this guy's doing voiceovers for, toilet paper or Nescafe or something. Well, I know he must have won preaching voice of the year, 4 years in a row at seminary or something. Because I'll tell you, it's just like he sounds, actually. It'd be interesting if one of these sports announcers that were, bloviating on about the Ohio State-Michigan game yesterday, would have his voice. This very sort of rotund. He sounds exactly like a radio announcer. Now, he's not as bad as some of the stereotypical mid-60s BBC guys. But he's a very nice guy. He's now I didn't go last Sunday because it was like a single service and it was like the ingathering Sunday. I can't get into that. I think I've remarked on that in the past. But I guess he gave the congregation a homework assignment. It was something along the lines of, let's see, how do you plan to grow yourself? Well, that's a construction right there that's suspect to me. Grow yourself into the life of Jesus. Okay, fair enough question. Maybe not phrased the way I'd like to hear it, but fair enough question. Now, I've always maintained, well, not always, after I got thinking seriously and critically about this stuff, when I started going back to church and really reading, going through the Bible 5 times straight, going back to the Greek patristic fathers and reading a fair amount of material out of them, But you know what I've been doing, if you've been watching. It finally hit me that, yes, Jesus was the living incarnation of the Word of God. He was the Word of God. He was, he was the incarnation of God here on earth. And that's not quite the right way to phrase it. He was the incarnation of the Word. And okay, I said, well, Jesus was the ultimate visual aid. I mean, we're meant to try to live the way he was trying to teach people to live. We're trying, basically, we're trying, and then over time we'll try to be, hell, not closely approximate his image. How can you? You human being can't do that. But you're meant to try. So that would have been my answer to that question, in terms of laying out like an 18-step PowerPoint presentation. I don't think I would have done that. Somebody didn't send him one of those, but somebody did send it. Somebody did send him in a little essay that they had written about it. Okay, good for them. I've been moved to write a couple of little pieces myself and send them to the rector. Not this one. And also, I've just, over time, there's been about 5 or 6 little 7 essays I've written that I've submitted to our parish newsletter. They publish. And I put it up on my own website anyway, so. I know it's going to get out there somehow. Some of them were very formulaic. Well, not formulaic. They were things I wrote for the stewardship campaigns when I first started going to St. Peter's, the first 4 or 5 years. They seem to have all the newcomers participate in the stewardship campaigns, and it's a way to get them involved. I think the theory is if they're not completely turned off by that, then they'll probably stick around. Because it's a real pain in the ass to do that stuff. Particularly the way we did it when I first started out, but I'm not going to go into that. So, yeah, so I love to read. It went well. I mean, the only downside of it was I woke up at 12:30 last night and I couldn't get back to sleep. Not because I was in pain. I actually was not in much pain at all. I mean, it's gotten a lot better, but I just couldn't get back to sleep. So I was reading my Cromwell book. The great thing about the Cromwell book, Jeremy McCullough's Cromwell, is that, I mean, this thing is written like this is such a gripping tale, at least for me, particularly given all the little references to documents and things that contradict each other or add to each other. But I just find this stuff fascinating. I'm loving this stuff. So I made an honest effort to try, and I said, no, I just read till my little alarm, whatever that Apple sound is. Okay, so there's always a real reason I always save the best, well, the best I think, maybe not for you, to last. I got my water bill today well, they're always they send it about 2 weeks after they, quote, read it. Now, it's one of these things some guy drives out in a pickup truck, pulls into your driveway, gets out, and he sort of walks around one of these little radio frequency chip reader wands, Now, admittedly, there's a real water meter down there, and there's a real thing with wires that are connected to the top of the meter box, and it does work. They showed it to me when they first put it in. No, at least it worked once. And so, over the last, well, here, let me show you my usage history. See, this is the previous month's statement. This is a fairly, there's some up and downs in this, and there's a little blip up there in January. I don't know what that was all about, because I don't know, maybe Paul was doing a lot of, this was when Paul was still, no, that was last year. So was that last year? Well, they say these are all actual reads. I think sometimes they just make stuff up. Okay, so this year, let's go to this year. Let's go. See, that was last month's bill. Okay. Basically, I send these guys about $160, $180 every 15 months or so. So I don't have to keep writing checks and sending them out each month, because, that costs me about $1.10 to do that, So here we are, and then, so we have like about 800. See, there's still a little that little December winter blip. That's interesting. I wonder why there's a winter blip. Anyway, so there is. Anyway, and here's like 3,100 gallons. There's like everything else has been like 800, 900 gallons a month. Oh, shit, I got to leave. I said, I need to go down there and be sure I've not, neglected seeing anything. I mean, it's nice in daylight. It's relatively dry, so I went out and I walked around. And, nothing by where the water line comes into the house, nothing along the course of where the water line goes down to the water meter there by the nice oak and pine tree there at the edge of the driveway. It's the pine tree that I cut the lower limbs off, thinking that if it ever had to be dug up, it would make it easier for everybody to dig that water line up, which had to be done once. And they actually dug up a fair amount of it up during the road construction process. Yeah, and there's always been this kind of wet spot right down there, slightly up next to my turnaround, but that's been there. That's been there for like 15 years, and that's not increased. That's not gotten worse. You know, and it's not like it's been leaking and then running down the slope, down into the swale there, which did happen one January, back when it got like 4 below zero. That was a fun night to find that out. You know, apparently they'd been running at full bore for 2 weeks. He sent me a $1,200 water bill. I said, I'm not going to pay this. So I couldn't. It was covered. It was 12 inches of snow. I couldn't see it. If I had seen it, I would have reported it. No, when I saw it, I told you. Well, I don't have X-ray vision. I can't see through a snowfall when it's like 4, 5, 11 below zero. You know. Well, it was broken on my side of the meter, so it was leaking down into the swale. Well, anyway, we finally negotiated a compromise for $700 on that one. Well, you've heard my remarks on Delco Water in the past. Witness my video from the road construction where they cut my internet cable twice. They've gotten better. They've gotten better. In fairness, they've gotten better. So anyway, so they say, oh, here was the beguiling phrase. Register to view your account detail and pay online with credit or debit card at delcowater.org. And then gives you the information you have to enter. All right. Well, I knew if I paid with a credit card there was a fee, so I had no intention of paying with a credit card. But I thought if I could set up some sort of direct debit out of my checking account, you know, like the trash people have and the electric people have and so forth, that'd be fine. Well, okay, and it seemed fairly straightforward enough for a while. It seemed that the option to include your checking account showed up only. There was only one way to get to that. It seemed all the other options easily, you know, threw up the credit card option because I don't know. I don't think they're going to. I don't know if they charge you for direct debiting your checking account or not. Almost no place. I've never run into a place that does. Excuse me. So, I wanted to be sure. I wanted to go back and check. I'd, you know, set the. Because I hadn't really finished setting it up as far as I was concerned. Because I don't want it to come out every month. I don't want them to automatically do it. I want to know, authorize it, then have them take it out. Like the electric company. Electric company tells you got a bill. You go look at the bill. You authorize payment out of your account. It happens. That's what I wanted to try to set up. And I think I think the sewer people. I set that up with the sewer people about 2 weeks ago. Well, they kept saying. They showed you then the credit card option with it actually checked in. I had not entered any credit card information, by the way. And they said, you're already signed up for auto pay. As far as I know, I did not sign up for auto pay. So I emailed them. That's going to be, frankly, I think, yeah. But I got thinking about this more critically later, and I thought, historically, and historically is always a good guide for a lot of things. Historically, the people you interact with at Delco Water are morons. Do you really want them to have access to your checking account? So I'm going to have to, essentially just Monday or Tuesday raise holy hell with these people. Get them to just say, I'll just write you a big check every year. How's that? Well, it's not even a matter how's that. That's what I'll do. That's what I've been doing for the last 20 years. So. Oh, which brings me to the actual little epiphany today. As people get older, as I get older, or probably, because I can honestly say that in the last 4 months, 5 months, I have started actually to feel somewhat old. I don't know, it's like the back pain, the hip pain, who knows? I mean, you've heard all the tales of woe and lament. But I thought, I think the way to start thinking about this stuff is the way I thought about things when I was a high school sophomore. Or hell, even in junior high school. But it really became apposite and useful to me when I sort of hit being a sophomore in high school. When things were sort of acting like they're going to unravel, or become unmanageable, or just so absurd as to be going into the level of why. I said, well, 20 years from now, will it matter? And of course, at that stage of my life, yeah, of course not. And I got to think, I'm going to be 67 here in about 6 weeks. I think it's about time I start saying to myself, hell, 20 years from now, is it going to matter? Well, and probably not, actually. Although I have every, I have it on fairly good authority, I'm going to be around in my mid-90s. So. Didn't say what shape I'd be in. It said around my mid-90s. Careful what you, well, anyway. File that under one of those 2 Corinthians 12 encounters, that St. Paul described. For those of you who take that stuff seriously, and I do. All right, well, in theory, Thomas and Carter are going to come up here this afternoon, and Carter's going to try to learn how to shoot the pellet gun off the deck. We'll see. Hope he does. Hope he comes up. Hope they come up. If they don't, they don't. So, I think I've covered the waterfront. We had a little fog this morning on the way to church. Not as bad as it might have been. Of course, you always worry about deer this time of year on the move, Some hot male wanting to get his rocks off with some very, very elusive female who's, if you have a unbred female at this stage of the game here, she's been very elusive. Either that or she's. I, what was that? What was that? Real coyote. I guess not. Coyotes will go after some of these deer, so maybe it wasn't even coyote ugly. Just not coyote interested at all, or interested in coyotes. I strained the metaphor. So, all right, I'm going to say bye-bye, YouTubers. Gosh, these go on a lot longer than I think they are going to. All right, bye-bye.